How you doing? My name's Vince Faney. This is the another video of my Kindle book. It's called Vinsanity's Intensity Training presents the hybridized German 10s high volume training. I call them hybridized, and you'll hear about it soon. I like to tell everybody I invented German 10s, okay? And I don't mean like a lot of people. There's a certain guy who owns a magazine, a big corporation, became a billionaire. Him and his brother were from Canada, and he liked to put his name, the so-and-so principle method, the so-and-so that method, you know. I don't do that. If I get a system and I follow it to the letter and I present it to you, I'll say Louis Simmons came up with this idea, Bill Pearl came up with this idea, and whatever. If I take Louis Simmons' system, anything that he's doing, a specific system, and if I make modifications, and the modifications for me and for other people seem to work better than the original system, because again, only the best system only works for 70% of the people 70% of the time. There's times that most of the systems that I've tweaked or modified end up working for people who the original much better than the original system didn't work for. So I thought I invented the German 10s, and prior to doing a periodization system or any kind of like powerlifting system, I went from basically from the Sears and Roebuck 2 sets of 10, and that's it. 2 sets of 10 for 3 exercises per body part, 2 sets per exercise, and so 6 total sets per body part generally. We were told to do this every other day. Okay, so that had its limitations. It's a good thing for people, the beginners, to use. And eventually I learned that there's a lot of things I needed to tweak in my workout if I want to continue making gains without taking steroids. So later on I used a pyramid system, which is also another good system where you add more sets, more reps, and then you go up in progressive, heavier weights in the exercise. And as you go up heavier weights, you're capable of doing less and less reps. And you get to a point where you can only do 1 rep. Perhaps you have a friend to help you do negatives. You use a weight that you cannot do 1 rep on your own. And that's a pyramid, and that has limitations too, and that could be potentially overtraining eventually, and even potentially dangerous. So I had a powerlifter tell me about how to do, like, why haven't you ever done the 2 sets of 10, or the 3 sets of 10, or the 4 sets of 8? And I was telling him I didn't understand that. I just thought it didn't work for me, because the guys who seem to do well and suggest 3 sets of 10 and 4 sets of 8, I felt were genetic freaks. Hence, that's why they were world champions. And it was rumored that many of these genetic freaks who were world champions, not all of them, but many of them were also taking steroids. Well, I didn't consider myself a genetic freak, nor have I ever taken steroids. So whenever the first time I tried to do 3 sets of 10 with, say, a weight that I could barely get 10 reps with, well, guess what? I barely could gut out 10 reps the first set. It was a miracle if I could get 10 ugly reps the second set. It was impossible the third set. I put out 110% the first set. It just never happened. Well, he looked at me like I was a stupid fool, and he told me, he said, no, you're supposed to sandbag. You're supposed to take a weight that you could easily do 10, 30 reps with, and rather 20 to 30 reps with. You stay at that weight, you do 3 sets of 10, therefore it'd be easy because you could do 20 to 30 reps. Every week you go up 5, 10 pounds, whatever prescribed, and you keep on going 3 sets of 10 until you get to a time you cannot do the 3rd set of 10, and then you go for the 4 sets of 8 and so forth. So that hit me in the head because I was hitting a wall. Every year I was getting hitches in my shoulder and had to start my my pyramid system over again. And every year I would tweak my shoulders 5, 10 pounds less than the previous time I tweaked my shoulders, kept them going backwards. And so I just chalked it up to getting older. I was in my 30s. I had not been in my 30s before, and I figure I'm just getting older. I missed my peak of being a world champion. And that's when this powerlifter gave me this advice. And so the 3 sets of 10, then the 4 sets of 8, and the 4 to 6 sets of 6, and so on, was pretty good. I did it strictly. Then, of course, true to my nature, I had to make tweaks. I made those tweaks. It worked even better. And I added a whole bunch of other variations and tweaks and hacks, worked better still. And I took some advice from Chris Confessor, and that worked even better. And so eventually my obsessive mind said, well, why not 10 sets of 10? Because I like the nice 10. I like the number 10. 10. Nice even number. 10, 10, 10. 10 sets of 10 is 100. So I decided to do 10 sets of 10. And of course, I was doing some other high reps and so forth beforehand. And I noticed that I just, by doing it strictly by 10 sets of 10, without any other alterations, for me, my body really responded. Then when I started adding in this hack and tweak, it responded better. When I started adding some of the other former hacks and tweaks to the 10 sets of 10, it had me breathing very strongly on the heels of 2 world's records, one for the squat, one for the bench press, not just for my age, because I was at the age, close to age of 40, but I was for open, for guys of any age. So I was closing in on the raw world's record for my weight, and I was very happy. And of course, I believe the only reason why I didn't get that, or even 600 pounds, was because of a heinous car accident, a pretty horrendous car accident, set me back. I believe that in a year at the body weight of 180, I would have got a 600-pound bench and an 800-pound squat and so forth. And there's other people who kind of believe that as well. And like, again, I never taken steroids, and I'm talking raw. But then again, I'm also talking about X amount of years of training and so forth and finding the perfect plan. Anyways, that's history. And so I thought I invented this wonderful program because not only did this work for me, it was working so unbelievably for everybody else. Everybody else was just benefiting. And people who were thinking about taking steroids didn't and got great results. A lot of the guys who were taking steroids got really phenomenal results. So I went to my friend Cecil Phillips, my mentor, my Yoda, and I told him I invented this wonderful system, and I explained it to him, and he just laughed his guts out and said, that's the old German 10 system. Because that's not the system. I didn't call it that. I'd never heard of such a system. And he told me, he says, back in the 20s before guys took drugs, Muscle Beach, that's all the old strongmen did, all this shit to figure out what made them strong. That's where a lot of the good knowledge comes from, is prior steroids. Steroids kind of clouds the issue, and I'll talk about that later. So, much to my dismay, I did not invent the German 10s, but Cecil helped me feel good about it, that I have some capacity for original thinking. And he said, well, you did put all these improvements and hacks and tweaks and everything else that weren't on there that makes the system far superior. Anyways, till next time.